I'm Mark Seifter, and this is Arcane Mark. Hello everyone, and welcome to Build an NPC Workshop 5 Council of Build an NPC Workshop, where we will build a 5th NPC to join the ranks of the Leshy who hunts Sharkshasas, although has fought and lost to a Sharkshasa in our one-on-one arena deathmatch, and all the other many NPCs that we've built in the Build an NPC Workshop. Elftro says, it feels really weird hearing the intro without Linda. Yeah, it doesn't feel the same without Linda, but just sometimes Linda has too much stuff going on or too many things from work, and so she can't always be here for the episode, but that usually happens at the last minute, so we wouldn't know in advance and be like, oh, well, we know 3 weeks in advance that Linda's gonna have too much work. So we just won't have that episode. So that's why there's some of these episodes that just me. All right. Good evening, Zathos. Hello, everyone. And let's see what we're going to do with our NPC. So, as always, when we're building pretty much anything, there are some exceptions maybe, but not on this show, because the types of things we build are the types of things we build in this way. We're going to start out with a question, which is, what is our concept? We need a concept for what this NPC is going to be. If we don't have that, we can't make the other decisions that are necessary to build an NPC. So, let's put in some concepts, and then we'll have a vote. A vote for the concept. And beyond that, we'll start building that NPC. Alright, so the first concept is bartender who puts a bounty on himself. Alright. That is the first one. Anything else? Keep them coming. Let's see. A ruling noble keeping a big secret. Now, the real question is, did any of those other chats come after the request for a concept? Was a tempo feeling weird, or comments about Linda? I think it was before. So we won't do an NPC where the concept is actually Linda. Let's see what we've got. Rasmuran, missionary con man. Alright, Rasmuran, missionary con artist. Got it. We've got it on the list. And I'll put them all up here when we've got enough of them for a vote. Rico says a kitsune that's actually a warlock. But Rico, we already did that as one of our 4 NPCs that we've already built. It was a bounty hunting kitsune who has a kobold as their other form, and they became a bounty hunting warlock. That's one of the 4 that we have. Is the Sharkshasa Leshy, the bounty hunting dual identity kitsune warlock, the Stheno-esque curse cursed blade wielding archaeologist, and then what was the other one? Was it Minotauriarty? Was that a build an NPC, or was it a build a creature? I think it was an NPC. So the other one was Minotauriarty. Stunt Monkey says that they would say a monkey that does stunts, but we already built Stunt Monkey, that character. A bat that does numbers. Alright, it's a Nyctera that does, a Nyctera numismatist. Or maybe not numismatist, that's just coins. That's not just numbers. Maybe a Nyctera that does numbers. In general. Nyctera numerologist, that sounds more fantasy. Alright, we've got a Rahadumi Inquisitor of the, I presume that is of the, what is that? The laws of mortality. Alright. We've got a, bold luchador. Got Akaname Chef. Alright. So we've got could be named Rico in their secret identity. Could be. You never know. Alright, that's a fair number of them, I think. So we'll just do this. Vote for your favorite option out of the following option. And we'll see which one wins. Also, it's fair to say that option 4 and option 5 are pretty similar in a lot of ways, if you really think about it. Alright, so let's see, we've got 3 votes for 5, thanks to the alliteration, and 1 for 7. Number 1. I'm going to create a file where I can take notes in general, and I'll put the votes in here too. Five, 7, 1. All right. I think the 5s have it on this, unless I'll give it like a little bit more, but it looks like the 5s are going to have this. So we're going to be making a Nyctera numerologist, which may be the same as the option of Linda, because after all, it is a bat that is also involved with numbers. So you never know. So Nyctera are a type of bat sprite that you can find in the recently released Lost Elements Ancestry Guide that we will be biasedly reacting to on Saturday. So, in fact, I wrote them and all of the rest of the stuff for sprites. That's why it's biased. So we're going to do a Nyctera numerologist, and that's going to be the character. It's going to be about, maybe about math, maybe about counting, maybe about weird numerological abilities. And we'll see how that works. For one thing, though, we definitely are going to want to... Now, usually I wouldn't put a skill feat type ability in an NPC that often, because it's like, do we really need this skill feat ability that's in their stat block? It's taking space. Is it big enough, important enough to the character that that we care? But I think we need the eye for numbers feat, so that we can sabotage stuff. So we've got probably going to put the eye for numbers feat in there. Also, Rico, so a numbat is a type of animal that is not a bat. So, but a numbers bat is different than a numbat. Let's see. I will copy an image address for you. This is a numbat. Oh wow, it has tons of tracking data. Never mind. I won't do it. I won't do it. You can look it up. Maybe on Wikipedia/numbat. Oh. In fact, Linda, who is also here, has put in the same link on her Twitch. So, there you go. you can build NPCs for totally the wrong info. It can happen, and that's what we're about to do. So we have this number-based bat sprite, and that's our character. So now that we know what our main concept is for the character, we're going to have to think about a few other questions as well. So for one, let's think about what level is this bat sprite going to be? Like, about what level would this be? The general idea of a numerologist or number using bat could exist at a variety of levels, but it feels like it's not that high level of a character. It's not like, yes, the 19th level bat sprite that does numbers. that would feel a little off to me. What level do all of you think for our numerologist bat sprite? All right, so Smooth Criminal says 3. Alftro says 3, almost at the same time. So it looks like 3 is doing pretty well so far. Let's see. Shall we do a level 3 for this bat sprite? So we should think about a numbat says 5, but 3 is fine. We should think about too, like, what do we think that we don't know the answer to this, although we do know that they're supposedly in Bestiary 3, supposedly. But what do we think, like, the stat block for a Nyctera that's a regular, like, in the monster Bestiary Nyctera is gonna be like, right? Because pixies, you can make a pixie character with Lost Omens Ancestry Guide, but if you look at them, like, the basic pixie creature is already, level 4 or something like that in Bestiary 1. So, if we want to do this right, we should probably make sure that that we pick a level that is going to be higher than what we think that the sprite is going to be. But a lot of sprites are very low level, right? So it's probably 3 is going to be fine. This is, like, better than, like, the basic sprite. Stump Monkey says if we make it level 5, then this NPC could play the Slithering or Sundered Waves. Which you can, but, like, playing with an NPC is a little bit questionable because of the fact that they don't really have enough abilities, but their numbers are a little smoothed over because of that. But I think maybe Stump Monkey meant they could be like an NPC you encounter in there as opposed to like another party member. Or maybe not. Maybe one or the other. So either way, we could do 5. Let's split the difference and make nobody happy by doing level 4. We'll make a level 4 number numerologist number-based bat sprite Nyctera. So what do we know about the Nyctera? So according to Lost Omens Ancestry Guide, the Nyctera are a type of sprites. They're typically pretty gentle, easygoing, very known for their hospitality, and if you kind of like betray their hospitality, they're not very thrilled with this. So that's just what Nyctera like in general. And we know that, like, based on their let me see, what exactly do you get? I feel like they have like a keener bat hearing. It's been a while since I wrote these. Yes, they have a keener bat hearing that is very similar to, like, the elves with the extra hearing. And then you can get a first level feat to speak with bats and use diplomacy with bats. So let's give our Nyctera, first of all, like, the special Nyctera hearing and the ability to speak with bats. I mean, that kind of makes sense. Also, we need to think about, is our Nyctera like a normal sprite or one of the wingless, who are like special sprites who are destined to be powerful heroes, but they start with no wings and then they get really amazing wings at higher levels potentially. So we should decide about that, right? Because a PC sprite is always going to be wingless. That's just you're a PC. You're destined to be an awesome hero. But and a monster sprite that's just in the best area is never going to be wingless. But we're an NPC, so are we or are we not going to be? Are we not going to be a wingless sprite? We should decide that. That's going to determine sort of our fly speed, but also if we have one, but also like where we fit among sprite society with this character. So, additionally, just for thematics, we could there's a feat that sprites can get at first level called Sprite Spark that gives you like a ranged attack, and we can do that to gain what's it called? Let me look up. Sprite Spark. I was actually already looking this up just today for my. I have a Twitter thing that I've been doing where Eleanor challenged me to try see how many of the Pokemon I could from. She didn't specify, but I'm going to do from the first generation at least how many I can build using the rules that we have out now. And so I had Weedle / Kakuna / Beedrill, and I used a Melixie with the Sprite Spark for Sting Shot. Alright, Nicteras have Ultrasonic Pulse, which is a sonic attack. Alright. So, sounds like Alftro is saying it's a normal, kind of a standard Nictera. For a numerologist. So sure, we're gonna do a. So we're a Nictera, and we do have wings. We're gonna have an ultrasonic pulse attack. That is going to do some sonic damage. So let's grab that. We just kind of already know that can get us a little bit ahead on things. We're gonna have the hearing ability that all Nictera kind of get as a heritage. I'll just throw that in here as well. And finally, we're going to take that Speak with Bats ability. So let me throw that in here too. So we've got our basic Nictera things in here. We know we're going to be level 4 for this numerologist. And I already pasted in here that we're going to have the Eye for Numbers ability. Because, I mean, that's ready-made for this weird character concept that we're doing. So let me throw that in here too. I've thrown it in. Great. So, while we think of other potential numerological abilities that we're going to give this character, we have a little while for that. Let's go through some of the more basic statistics next. So, we know that they're, like, a pretty kind type of and friendly type of sprite, so they're probably, in general, good aligned, but that doesn't mean that our numerologist might not be. What alignment do you think that our Nictera numerologist? We know that the Nictera is going to be tiny. It's going to be a tiny Fae. Because that is what a Nictera is. Alright. Alftro says I should lower the cam a little bit. Let's do that. Oop. There we go. How about that? Is it too low? It is. Alright, how about this? That's better. Alright, so we have chaotic good, we have lawful neutral as another option. What other options? Another for chaotic good. Yeah, close ones. Stunt Monkey, those are super. Chaotic Good and Lawful Neutral are super close. All right. Let's see. Well, so maybe it's easier to do it on the 2 axes. So, who thinks that our vote for good, neutral on the good, evil axis, or evil? Everyone just put in a G, an N, or an E. G. Alright, so Rico either wants the neutral good alignment, Aang the Wanderer, the eldest deity. Oh, yeah, did want Aang the Wanderer. I was in the middle of asking when Rico clarified isn't a worshiper of Aang. Or has picked both neutral and good when asked to pick neutral or good. You never know. Yep, you're right, Stunt Monkey. Rico might be have an ancestry of troll, but I was actually on that potential for the eldest Aang. So I caught on to the trolling in advance. Alright, so it looks like, however, that very slightly, although if anyone says to the other direction, then it could change it, but very slightly the neutrals have it between neutral and good. 3-2, where Aang the Wanderer is not an alignment. So then let's decide lawful, chaotic, or neutral on the law chaos axis. So please put L, N, or C into the chat. Rico, I may have automatic knowledge in High Gold Larian lore. I may have also created a pregen who worships Aang the Wanderer, among other things. All he wants to do is figure out why the weather is so weird, okay? Alright, so it looks like there's 4 for chaotic and only 1 for neutral here. So, it seems like the chaotic good is probably going to have it here. And just, since Aang the Wanderer is true neutral, that means, oh sorry, not chaotic neutral, you're right, Smooth Criminal. Chaotic neutral has it here, not chaotic good. And chaotic neutral is one of the alignments allowed by Aang the Wanderer, as it turns out. So we've got a chaotic neutral, which is the alignment of like the so-called common sprite. Although don't call them that; they probably don't like it. But the sometimes known as Firefly sprites, they're chaotic neutral. So we've got a bat sprite who can hang out with those. It's certainly a very interesting alignment for a numerologist. It might suggest to me that they're a little less about like just like staying in their room and looking at scrolls filled with numbers, and they might be more about like doing unusual numerological things that allow them to like predict probabilities and chance, or just generally being very flexible with how they apply numbers. And Appellicine says it might be a mischief maker. Stump Monkey says maybe they're out to discover new numbers. It could be. Just by doing that, we've unlocked our ability to consider different options. So we've got that. Now let's think about our ability score modifiers for this bat sprite. So we know that our ability scores are going to be sort of different. Like the ancestry has one set of ability score modifiers, but obviously they're not perfect matches for every sprite that's in the sprite family, and we don't have to rely on that. On the other hand, they're actually kind of a good match for our concepts, because of the fact that we are a numerologist. We probably have some intelligence for that, and that ability that I linked that we pulled out is absolutely uses things like decipher writing for numerical writing, which is using intelligence-based, I think an intelligence-based skill feat as well. So we're probably going to want to have some int. And we're probably going to want to have some dexterity just because we're, a tiny bat. And then we are likely to, have low strength because we're a tiny bat as well. Maybe our constitution's not the greatest. It could be. And our wisdom and charisma, they could be good. What do people think? What do people think about some of these ability scores? So I will start plugging in for some of the ones that we know are going to be pretty set in. Like, we know we're probably going to have a low strength. It's probably going to be below, like, the usual low standards because we're a tiny creature. So for a level 4 creature, like, even the low ability score is like a 2. But we're so small, we can be like -1 or something. For intelligence, we're a numerologist, so the intelligence is probably pretty high, but maybe not all the way up to high. Maybe it's +4. Intelligence and dexterity, or maybe it's +5. That is the high for a level 4. Constitution might be lower. Maybe it's the low +2. And maybe wisdom is somewhere in between with a 3 and charisma is 2. Let's see if anybody said something else. Smooth Criminal says wisdom and charisma should be high. Stunt says charisma is secondary. So, okay. Got it. Charisma is +4. We're going to do it. So that gives us int 5, dex and charisma 4, wisdom 3, constitution 2, strength -1. That's our ability modifiers. So, where are we at next? Well, now we're going to fill in some... Now we know the ability modifiers, we can fill in some of the other things like perception. So, we've got perception. We know that we have a special bat sprite ability that's going to give us +2 on our, like, a hearing-based one. So, and our wisdom is, like, it's not bad. It's like in the middle range. So, maybe that means that our perception might also be in the middle range normally, but the hearing-based is too higher because of our ability. So, it's +13 for hearing. Or locate undetected with hearing. I think that could work. Let's see. Gotta convince people imaginary numbers are real. That makes sense. So, we've got languages. So, we probably are going to have Sylvan as at least one of our languages. Perhaps it is our only language, but it's likely that we also have common. Most of the sprites do. We might have some other ones like Utopian because it's a very mathematical language, although we're super chaotic. So we might not have that. And then we have Speak with Bats is going to be in the languages section. So we'll put that there. Like, Utopian is almost like made up of math in the language. So put in the chat whether you think we should have it or not, based on the fact that it's made up of math, but is also the language of the lawful plane. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the skills that we have. So, obviously, I for numbers is a society skill feat, so we're going to want to consider having society. Altro says they have to have Utopian so that they can tell bad number puns to the Axiomites. I think that's pretty convincing. Stump Monkey is also pretty convinced by that. That makes sense. So we're going to have it so we can tell bad number puns. We should probably also have diplomacy to convince people about imaginary numbers, but also because our Speak with Bats ability makes us a little better at diplomacy, so we might as well have it so that when we're better at it, we're super good at diplomacy with bats. I mean, who doesn't want to be able to have good diplomacy with bats? So we could be maybe +11 because we have 4, 8, or we could be diplomacy +11 +13 bats. We can say to To make an impression on bats or request something from bats. Alright, I will put that in there. We can have society. We know that's going to be great because that's sort of our what we use for some of that number crunching. That's probably going to be plus around plus 12, but well, we can say it's plus 13. We're really good at that. It's a little higher than high, but it's not quite up to the snuff of extreme. All right, so we've got society, we've got diplomacy. Let's see, there are no other suggestions so far. Chat, let's put in acrobatics, at least a little bit of acrobatics, because that's what we're gonna be using for for flying around, and we are a flying soldier. Maybe that is plus 10, which is a moderate for that level, given that we have pretty high dexterity, but we may not put a lot of thought into it. Alright, it does have bat in it. That is true, Rico. That is a good reason to do it. So we've got acrobatics, we've got diplomacy, we've got society. What other skills do people think are skills that this bat numerologist should have? Do we have occultism for some of the weird occult numerology things where you're like, well, if you use numerology on this, you discover that the secrets of in these religious documents. For example, when Sarai, whose last letter of her name means 10, became Sarah, whose last letter of her name is 5, she lost half of the value of that letter and gave it to Avram, who gained the Ha in his name and became Abraham, and then suddenly, there you go. It all adds up numerologically. Occultism. Could potentially do that. We could also, let's see, I'm probably not gonna, we could do like intimidation for like using math anxiety to intimidate people. Palestine says mathematics lore. That's actually a pretty good one. Or maybe academia lore, so we can be a little bit broader, but maybe mathematics lore, and actually let's be specific so that we can get a lower DC for math-based things. Mathematics lore, we'll put that really high too. I'm gonna put occultism at plus 11. Let's see. We don't necessarily, we're not gonna be good at athletics, that's for sure. I mean, we could potentially use crafting for the engineering uses of math. We could have, let's see, probably not medicine or nature. Maybe stealth, because bats can be pretty quiet and sneaky. Maybe not survival. Maybe thievery. It depends on what sorts of things this character gets up to. Rico says that they're worried about diagonals, maybe. That could be what their research is about. Why diagonals are discontiguous. Hey, I mean, at least that they don't have to research the phenomena of one-to-one diagonals, where it's like, if you run on this exact angle in the world, you go faster than somebody else who's not running at that angle. Maybe a bit of stealth. That makes sense. I'll give plus 10. That's sort of like just being trained, where it's like, you know, I have high dexterity, I might as well get some stealth. And we're a bat sprite. That makes sense. That seems like something. I feel like we have everything that, like, the Lost One's Ancestry Guide write-up of the Nyctera would imply that any Nyctera would have, plus then some occultism and math lore. So, and society. So, we've got some stuff. I think that's probably pretty good on skills, unless anybody else has one. Let's move on! So, we are level 4. That means we probably do not have magic equipment that we have to worry about. Honestly, we probably stay at a distance in a fight and use our ultrasonic pulse, so we probably just don't have to get too concerned about really about buying gear. So let's take a look at our armor class. So, a lot of, like, stay put, fight you monsters, which are the majority of monsters, they go with the high AC by default. But this doesn't feel like that. This is a numerologist character. So we can take a look, perhaps, at what our roadmap would be. We're not able to really use a class roadmap for this character because we're not exactly any class. And that's okay. Not every NPC is going to be any class. But we do know that this character is based on their numerology. But if they get into a fight, what's it going to be like? I'm thinking that they might be using probably either like something like the sniper / skirmisher roadmaps, where the idea is they don't want to be anywhere near you during a fight, attacking with an ultrasonic pulse from range, and just trying to keep their distance with the ability to fly, which is pretty good at level 4. That could be sort of, but they might even be an NPC that is like mainly based on doing math-based things as well. So if people think that's a good idea, then we can go with some of the commonalities in those are that they have a good dex, which we did. They're not so good at their fortitude, but they're good at their reflex, and their speeds are pretty good. So that's fine. We've got a roadmap. It wasn't exactly a huge roadmap that had a ton of things in it. And so we can use that roadmap to move onward. It didn't really say about armor class. We also could make it be like that it's really hard to hit this bat because of the bat being very agile and using numerology to try to dodge, and it maybe has good AC and low hit points. That's another thing we can do. Or good AC and low hit points, but adjusted for a cold iron weakness, for example. So let's actually change my mind. Let's put it actually at the high AC, even though I was thinking maybe it wasn't so much of a stand and fight type character, but only because we'll lower the hit points instead. So we've got AC high is going to be 21. That also kind of makes sense just because of the fact that just for participating in life as a +4 dex level 4 character, they would have had at least 20. Then that's the moderate, just sitting around. That's if you didn't include any kind of thing that could like represent armor or just having a little bit of like protections on themselves. So it would be, I guess it would be a little weird if with that much dex if their AC was not high. But we're gonna do that, but we're gonna give a low number of hit points adjusted for a cold iron weakness. So let's take a look at that. Hit points normally for this kind of character would be like around 60, but what if we did instead 45 hit points, but then give some hit points back for a weakness to cold iron? So our weakness to cold iron could be 5 at this level, so why not make it 5? That's easier to do the math on. So weakness, cold iron, 5. And then we can give back a few hit points for the cold iron weakness to a point that, hey, maybe it has around like a normal number of hit points, but a weakness to cold iron that is not otherwise compensated due to just like the sort of like, it's annoying that they can maybe 55, a little lower, just because it's annoying that they can fly around and attack you with supersonic attacks that you might not be able to have an answer for at these levels, like level 4 where you're encountering this numerologist bat. So, let's take a look at saving throws. They told us in all the roadmaps we were considering that we want high reflex and low fortitude, so that was, I see no reason to refuse. So, we can take 14 fortitude and 8 fortitude and 14 reflex. That's what I meant. And our will can just be in the middle. Like that's totally fine. It can be 11. These all actually add up like pretty prettily like if we assumed that we had like master reflex or something, and expert will and trained fortitude or something like that, they kind of work out. So sure, that's what we've got. So we've got hit points, we've got those, we've got immunities, weaknesses, and resistances. Speed. Well, we can do something like the sprites in, since we're not a wingless, we can be more like the Bestiary 1 sprites that don't necessarily have a good land speed. Whereas if you're a wingless, it's really mean to give you a bad land speed and then no fly speed, right? So we can just do, like, maybe... Let's look at the Bestiary 1 sprites. Sprites! What's their deal? They have 10-foot speed and 40-foot fly speed for the basic sprite. I mean, that seems fair. We can do what the basic sprite is doing. That seems reasonable to me. So that's 10 feet, fly 40 feet. Cool. So that is going to be our movement speed. For our strikes, well, we already know that our ultrasonic strike is going to be our main thing. But we might as well include a melee in case we're forced to go into melee of some kind of a fist. That we have fist of numerology. So we're probably looking at an accuracy, given that this is going to be a finesse fist. Maybe like agile finesse, really, really bad damage. We're probably looking at an accuracy that is going to be 14 for the range, but then worse for the melee because our roadmaps are saying, oh yeah, the melee should be worse. So maybe 12 for the melee, and our damage output is it's ranged, so we might be looking at... It's ranged and we're a flying creature, so it could be kind of mean if we gave it a really high amount of damage. We could maybe use the low expression of 2d4 plus 4 for the ranged attack, and then the melee attack maybe can be a bigger fist. But we have a really terrible strength, so it's still not going to be a good option to go into melee. But we can do maybe 2d6 plus 1. Or minus 1. Because we have a low strength. Let's see. Book or abacus? Well, we could do that, actually. So yeah, we could change the melee attack into an abacus attack. It's a finesse abacus. Take this. So looking at an abacus, what kind of weird random like weapon traits would we give to it? We're giving it agile and finesse just because, which honestly doesn't make that much sense for an abacus, but sure. I don't know, it might not have any other weapon traits. That might be overthinking it. So, we've got our strike damage. We've got our skills. We've got our basic things that we just have for being an Ictera, and that one number feat. But this is the time that many of you may have been thinking of from the beginning when I said let's start thinking about special abilities. What other numerological special abilities are we going to put on this character? So, for example, maybe the character has an ability where, like, before you encounter them, or at least just, like, at the beginning of some point in time, it's harder for NPCs. With a PC, you could say during daily preparation. But at some point, they roll a d20, and then, like, the first time whenever that number comes up, they can, as a reaction, re-roll it once. Or something like that. It's like, aha, it says my lucky number, 5, I will re-roll it. Or you could be very unlucky. Oh, it is my lucky number, 20. I won't re-roll it. Uh, so some kind of weird fortune effect involving numbers could be interesting. Stump Monkey says run the numbers like investigators devise a stratagem where you roll in advance. Could be an interesting one. That is also a fortune effect. Yeah, I think we could do that. Let's see. This is I for numbers. Nictera hearing. Got those in here. We can do a devise a stratagem. Let's put that in there, which is run the numbers. Yeah, let's see. We can make the attack deal 1d6 additional damage when we run the numbers. That's actually a good way to get up the damage a little without making it too extreme. Frequency once per round. Alright, so we're going to have the ability to run the numbers like an investigator does. When they devise a stratagem. Anything else that people would want to do with some numerological abilities? Stump Monkey says, should this character have some sort of defensive reaction based on numbers or numerology? I mean, they could. They easily could have some kind of number-based reaction. Maybe we can give them a reaction based on, like, numerical pedantry. Where somebody else does some kind of a math problem or a similar thing and they didn't critically succeed, and then this numerologist bat is like, you know, though, it could be more accurate than that. And they just have to correct. Be like, you said that none of the orcs, if it was like for words, that would be the equivalent of, like, you said that none of the orcs are in the room, but you should have said that none of the orcs is in the room. Stump Monkey says, like, an opposite of the demon's weakness thing. Yeah, I'm thinking similar to, like, the celebrity's ability to be a jerk about other people not critically succeeding with their upstage ability. So, let's put in something like that. It's where a foe attempts a skill check and doesn't get a critical success. And you are kind of, you can call it like numerical pedantry. Numerical pedantry. So that will be a foe attempts a skill check and doesn't get a critical success. While your foe was almost right, they missed a pedantic point, as you're sure to remind them. Attempt a check using the same skill that triggered this reaction. Critical success, you get a +1 status bonus to attack rolls, perception checks, saving throws, and skill checks until the end of your next turn. Success, as critical success, except only if the triggering creature failed their skill check. So there we go. We've got a very pedantic bat with an eye for numbers, and who can run the numbers and attack with an ultrasonic pulse against enemies. Plus has Nictera Hearing, Cold Iron, Weakness, and can make an impression on bats. I think that is going to basically cover what we need for this NPC. Does anyone have any additional ideas of things that you'd like us to put into the NPC now that it is close to done? I'll wait for a moment just in case. While closing out of all these tabs I was opening for bats and Nictera abilities. Eye for numbers. Sprite Spark. Devise a stratagem. Alright. Nope, it looks like nobody is suggesting anything else. So that could work well. Do we want this bat to actually worship the Eldest and the Wanderer? Or could worship Shaika the Many, the timeshare deity, who is many different beings that sort of timeshare in a non-linear time, where you might share now and then your next one might be 10 years ago. So you experience time in a very strange way. Also allows chaotic neutral followers. Perhaps not a shocker on that, although also a true neutral deity. Stump Monkey and Numbat like Shaika. So we'll go with it is, and this bat worships Shaika. Alright, I'll just put worships Shaika. Okie doke. I think that's good. I will throw it up into the Arcane Mark Discord. If you're not on the Arcane Mark Discord, then you're not going to be able to see the results of this character. But not to worry, because you can join the Arcane Mark Discord at tiny.cc. I keep hitting a comma. tiny.cc/arcanemark. Alright, let's see. Where are our workshops? Here it is. Can I fit this? Oh no, my message exceeded the character limit. Well then, let's see what happens when the character limit runs across my new ability to split into 2 different messages. Ha! That succeeded. Also, do we have a name for this character? I realized we did not name the character, and in the case of the Minotaur character, Minotauriarty, that was a very important distinction. So, alright, Leendar, I forgot. We're gonna do Leendar, the Nictera. Leendar, Nictera, Numerologist, Creature 4. Alright, we got it. It's Leendar. Okie doke. So I think it's probably just about time to say goodbye to YouTube. Bye, YouTube. See you next time.